Most times, what is required to make positive things happen in the society is no rocket science, but the will to drive ideas. History was made last Friday when the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, FAAN, announced the completion of the and reopening of the runway 18L, known as domestic runway, at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, to travel after installing the traffic after installing the Airfield lights since 2008. When the runway was rehabilitated and supposed to be accompanied with runway lights, the facility was not installed until 14 years after. Airlines had lost huge resources on fuel to taxi for several minutes from the international runway 18R after 6 p.m. daily, an amount that airline operators of Nigeria, AON, put at more than 3 billion naira annually. Now I get it, Jide, because sometimes when we are just coming from Abuja, it's always very funny that we land, and when we land, we taxi for minutes before we stop. So it is the international wing.
That's early at night.
Oh, okay.
You know,
now I get it.
I remember one pilot telling us sometime last year that, look, we had to land at the international and then taxi because the lights look like Christmas lights at night. That means the place was not well lit, you know. So, because people were wondering why the long taxi,
Just
you know.
go and turn.
So,
Yes, at night.
in the night, they had no choice because how would you land in darkness? So they will land and then taxi to the domestic wing. People can now come down. People feel uneasy that what's going on. It really takes a long time. And
from that VIP to international, then look, if you are going to MM2, if you are going to the old MM2.
So how could we rehabilitate a runway and not install the airfield lights?
Since 2008.
Since 2008. Is part of the oddities that we see in our country. The people who made up their minds to renovate the runway should have known that, look, to make that runway fully ready for use, you have to install the lights. It has taken us this long. And airline operators were complaining that they were burning unnecessary fuel because we just wouldn't do the right thing. But I'm happy at the end of the day, it's been fixed. So, and it was an an Air Peace flight that landed from Kano, coming from Kano. That was the first to actually use that runway in the night. You know, the Air Peace flight from Kano is always in the night. Remember, one I had to even, we came back around 2 a.m. You know, I told you at that time. So they were the first to make use of it, and I'm sure the pilots and airport workers generally will be very happy now that they can put that runway to full use now that they've installed the lights, and they can save some of the fuel, the aviation fuel, because at this time when aviation fuel is
very expensive,
more than 900 naira per liter, we can't be burning fuel needlessly because runway didn't have lights. So, thankfully, things will change now that they've installed the light. We have to appreciate the government again for doing what previous administrations didn't do. There is no way that you write the history of infrastructure development in our country and not give the Buhari administration credit that it deserves. It may not have solved our security problems for now, but you can't dismiss the giant strides of the Buhari administration in the area of infrastructure. And this is yet another evidence of that. Something abandoned since 2008. This administration has finally fixed it. So kudos to them for doing it. They too could have abandoned it for the next administration, but they didn't think that it made sense to do that, and they've done it now.
Sikian, it seems we are getting it right in our aviation sector. Number one, we've not suffered any crash that I can remember recently, and we are opening new airports and new terminals, and with this now, this will go a long way in improving our ratings internationally.
Yes, it will. You know, after the last crash, the federal government, as well as the Ministry of Aviation, took a stock. And it was at that they realized that certain things were not being put in place within the aviation industry. There was a time that we were having plane crashes every three months or 6 months in Nigeria.
Yes.
As this one is crashing, this other one is crashing, and the rest of them. But they were able to find out where the problem was coming from and effectively tackle that. And since then, we've not had any serious air mishap, apart from the one that we encountered with the military here and there.
And smaller
and the smaller aircraft, but nothing major.
Not commercial.
Yes. I remember vividly the one that crashed in Lagos. We had several people died, including some of our friends, like the spokesperson of the NNPC then, our own Livy, Livy Ajonom and the rest of them. But the issue for me is the way we do things. I will tell you that close to about 60% of the airports in Nigeria don't function at night. Over 60%. There are some places in Nigeria that planes cannot land once after 6 p.m. So many. I don't know, apart from maybe Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja, maybe Kano, or maybe one or two others.
The international
ones, Enugu. No other place that you find an airline landing at about 7, 8. And the question I ask is that, why give an approval for an airport when you do not have the full complement of what an airport is? Because those are the basic requirements. Okay? If you check out in most of the advanced countries, an airplane may be trying to land at JFK. But because there may be some problem it's facing, they might divert it to Newark, which is very close, in New Jersey. You see that it will go to New Jersey. But if we're going to have that, if an airplane wants to land in a place like Abuja and was not able to land, you're expecting that probably we should be able to land in any of the airports within that area, within that range. Like Mina. Maybe like
Lagos
Kaduna,
now,
you'll be surprised.
Lekki
You know what happens?
just been
Do you know what happens? That plane will return back to Lagos to land. So those are the part of issues. So I have been saying in time after number, every state, and you see what's happening, every state wants to have an airport. Every state, whether it's viable or unviable, they just think that
but
is
you should do it right.
But make sure you get it right. Make sure you get it right. Yes. Make sure you get it right. Those are the basic requirements. So I have to
thank Ekiti now. They've not completed work.
Yes.
But they commissioned it.
They landed, the military district landed there, and the governor left. And there's the impression that airport has not been completed. It's not functional. So we just don't do things just for political exigencies. It must be, one, before you open an airport, you must look at the minimum standard and the economic value it is bringing to. And that is why I commend someone like a state like Akwa Ibom. They are doing very well. That state is doing very, very well in this thing. So we need to commend the federal government for this. Since 2008 is unbelievable.
All right.